This is disgusting. Hello Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me Munchie, and today we're going to be reviewing bad cages again. And I'll be explaining in this video as to why these cages are considered bad, what could be a safety or health concern, and what has this cage been used for, because I am not doing an unboxing today. And in these videos I try my best to educate you guys on what is appropriate, what does and doesn't work, and I try my best to enhance you and your companion's life by hopefully having educational content while also entertaining as well and giving you my own little flair. So thank you so much for tuning in. So this enclosure right here, I'm sorry if you see my lights, it's just the reflection is super strong in this one. This is what we're going to be reviewing today. It's from the Habitrail and it's called the OVO, and now you will see a lot of colorful cages like this online or in stores. Usually the US market is dominated by KT, however OVO has really tried to copy KT but doing it their own way with these style of enclosures that look very spacey. Not spacious, spacey, because they have a dome type appearance, which honestly can be looking cool and can be looking ugly at the same time. But typically OVO has a better color scheme than KT that makes it look like a child threw up in the room with rainbows and sunshine. This, however, looks a little bit more well put together. This right here is something that's very cheaply made, and I'm just gonna explain to you guys why it's not a very functional cage for hamsters and mice. So let's just knock it off right here. We are not reviewing this enclosure for gerbils. If someone sticks gerbils in here, that is very misinformation, because gerbils can chew through plastic. They can chew through kind of like this type of material plastic, while also rubbery, flimsy plastic. Please make sure when you have gerbils not to put them with plastic, and if you have to go hard plastic, it should be very durable. You can use hard plastic water bottles or glass water bottles, and you can use hard plastic wheels or wood wheels. But if you have very flimsy plastic, it will get chewed up. So the hamsters in question will be any species of hamsters that are domesticated, because there's 5 species: Roborowski, Winter White, Russian Campbell's Dwarf, Syrian, and Chinese. We'll be discussing those species as just hamster in general. In the United States, 450 square inches of minimum floor space is recommended due to the market in the United States and the laws in the United States, versus the United Kingdoms, which is about 620 as a minimum because they have better laws to protect animals over there. And in Germany has literally told me that if you neglect an animal so severely, because you sign a contract when you purchase them in the pet store, and if you go to places like rescues over there, that you literally have to sign a contract not to neglect them, and if you do, it is seen as a criminal offense. Like, they really care a lot about their animals over there. At least 860 as a minimum. However, people have said higher than that now, but I'm still seeing around online that it's 860 square inches as a minimum. Recommended would be in the middle of a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being wildlife, perfect, unachievable. 5 being where we're kind of at when it comes to pushing for a little bit better care than what minimum recommends. Now this right here, it's an oval. Maybe that's why they named it OVO. And it's gonna be kind of hard to measure it, but you want to measure length times width as best as you can. And I can tell you right now, this is not 450 square inches, which we will be having some comparison cages at the end of this video here. But let's first talk about what the description is on Amazon, because this is where a lot of people have purchased this style of cage, and we'll talk about the price as well. So online, it says right here, it's the Habitrail OVO Home Blue Hamster Cage, Small Animal Habitat, Hamster Accessories. Long title. So right here, back when I first saw this enclosure, it said that the price for the blue edition was $21. It looks like it has jumped up to $33. So we're just gonna base the price off of this information of sometimes it'll probably dip as low as 20, but it's around the $30 range. With each passing year, it'll get a little bit more due to price inflation and things like that. Anyways, so it says right here, complete hamster habitat that consists of a transparent cage and accessories. Wide retractable roof provides easy access to your hamster and his habitat. Air vents provide air circulation while preventing drafts, and the front and back locks will ensure your pet remains secure inside the home. Let's talk about that real quick. Punched holes do not provide enough air circulation. While it might not create drafts because there's literally nothing that's able to get inside of here besides these tiny little holes, the ventilation right here, or lack of, will cause upper respiratory infections and problems and symptoms in your small animal. Hamsters, mice, rats, they all have very sensitive respiratory. As you can see, that is it. Humidity will build up inside of here due to not enough airflow. And whatever's inside of here, whether it be fresh fruits and veggies or food, or just urination, because the hamster will urinate inside of something like this and constantly in one corner most likely, it will build up over time. And because of the size of this, you have to clean almost daily and then deep clean weekly, because there is no way you could provide enough for a hamster or mouse in this type of environment. Right now, if you have an animal using something like this or using the accessories for this, please keep in mind that you are creating less airflow than a tank. And tanks, actually, the only airflow that they get is up at the mesh, the top part of the lid. However, that still provides enough ventilation, but sometimes it can, in different climates, get very stuffy. That's why wired enclosures are recommended for hamsters and mice. And for whatever reason, one of my commenters said that wire is bad for hamsters. It is not bad for hamsters unless we get into a topic like bar biting, which we will discuss here on the channel every now and again. But in this situation, while you don't see them bar biting, they are still suffering due to poor ventilation. And I will love to review other lines of the OVO Habitrail. However, this was from a rescue and it was a very severe neglect rescue. The lovely owner, hello dear, did not see what they were doing was wrong, and they did not care to look at the health of their animals. And while they could have gone with a different critter thing, they were housing two opposite species in here, a Syrian and a winter white, which is absolutely not okay. There should not be multiple hamsters in here. You should not be housing multiple hamsters of different species in here, but it's just so closed off. Deep base design with rounded corners helps prevent gnawing and makes cleaning easy. So yes, even though it does look like it has an incline, and does look like once you take a look inside that it can keep bedding inside of it, it's not deep enough for them to actually make a burrow out of. And unfortunately, when we did get this enclosure, they had 1 inch of bedding, which definitely they could have, the past owners could have filled it all the way up, but they just didn't. And that's a problem too, because when humidity builds up, a lot of the times small animals will use the bedding that they have as a nesting material and to keep their body temperatures regulated. Unfortunately, they couldn't really keep their body temperatures regulated unless they take bedding and put it in the wheel and have that wheel portion be their hide and their home. Because the hide that actually comes with this enclosure, which you're not seeing here but you see in the picture, is actually a climbing toy. And unfortunately, that's all they really get, is like a food bowl right here, which they actually will take all the food out and then put it in a corner somewhere. So this is not really needed, especially in a small enclosure with not enough space. As you can see here, that still takes up a lot of room right there, just having that there. And supposedly the wheel, even though it's not in the main portion, it's off to the side, and it can be kind of claustrophobic. But the benefit, I will say, for the OVO Habitrail is that their tubes are big enough for Syrian hamsters. That is probably the better argument when it comes to other brands who don't care to listen and care to watch hamsters from owners die in their tubes, like KT. So I'm calling you out, KT, because the last time I saw a hamster's death in your tubes was just last week, when a poor owner on a hamster group said, please guys, I killed my hamster with these tubes, and KT is still making the tubes. So they at least did the designing part right for the tubes for their lines. Includes everything you need to give your pet a proper and fun home. It's not a proper and fun home because we'll be making points here soon. So from the manufacturer, this is what they say about it. Habitrail OVO Home Blue Edition is a complete hamster habitat consisting of a wide number of features that enhance your hamster's quality of life. Okay. Every detail is carefully designed to encourage your furry friend to explore, burrow, snooze, exercise, or simply chill out. Habitrail OVO Home and its accessories are made of transparent plastic, providing an amazing view of your hamster. The habitat includes a blue cage, a green food dish, a green cozy hideaway cube, which maybe it actually is a hideaway cube, but it's also a climbing toy too. 2 OVO blue windows, 2 OVO blue lock connectors, a green OVO water bottle, and a green OVO trainer that's attached outside of the cage to allow you to clearly see your hamster as he exercises. A wide retractable roof provides easy access to your hamster and his habitat. So that is very true too. You can easily access your hamster in here. So there is some design features I do like about this cage, but the way it is made for a small animal is not so great. Air vents allow excellent air circulation. What? What? Really? You're claiming? You are claiming it provides great, excellent air circulation while preventing drafts. So, I do not like this Sam I Am. I do not like green eggs in this Habitrail OVO home ham. Front and back locks help ensure that your pet remains secure inside his home. The home's deep base design makes cleaning easier, rounded corners preventing gnawing. It's just a mixed bag there when it comes to design. However, the functionality of this enclosure we will now be talking about. So here we go. First, let's talk about the wheel in this type of enclosure. Now the wheel right here, even though it is very large, it is very small in width. And this might not be okay for Syrians because of the width, but of course it's definitely not okay for Syrians because of the length. Syrians need a 10-inch wheel. That way their backs don't begin to curve because it causes discomfort, inflammation, and pain. You don't want that for your hamster. However, when I did measure this wheel, it was 7 inches. For dwarf species, they need at least an 8-inch wheel. Roborosky's, however, can do a 6.5, and Chinese needs at least a 9, just because their body length is a little bit longer than a traditional winter white or Russian dwarf hamster. But this is a 7-inch wheel, and it's not suitable for anything but a Roborosky. However, if they go to spin it, it has some resistance. And of course, this enclosure is used, as I've said before. Unfortunately, I can't show you what this is like when it's new. However, at least I can show you what it looks like after maybe a couple months of use from previous owners of the rescued animals that were inside of here. But as you can see right here, it immediately stops right there. It doesn't continue. Oh, it kind of continued here if you whip it hard enough, but at the same time, you want to make sure the animal is able to push the wheel. If there's too much resistance, too much strain, then they're not going to be able to turn it, and it might actually be turned into a hide by them. A lot of these smaller enclosures, their hamsters will go and hide in the wheel and not even use it, which is a very bad sign that they're not being supplied what they need, and they're using things that they should be using but as something completely different. And closed off wheels like this can make it difficult for hamster owners because then they consider this to be kind of like an area that they hide in. Same with the senior rodent wheels and the silent runner wheels. They like to be closed off, and sometimes hamsters might just put food and bedding inside of their wheels versus an open wheel where they enter in, it's completely open, so they won't have to chew the plastic that's keeping them inside, and they don't have to store bedding inside of there because the bedding just all falls out. However, if we go to the side, this is a very leaky water bottle that leaked all over my bed when there was water inside of here. The way you take this off is like that. It just pops on here, pops it up here. It's easy to take apart like that, but the nozzle is a very tiny hole. And the way they get to the water in here is through a tube. They go underneath it and then they lack up the water here. However, with any sort of movement, if you're holding or moving this enclosure, just like with any natural water bottles, it could start to leak. And it did, it leaked all over the place, and I just did not understand why it leaked. Also, you gotta make sure you put it back in correctly. And overall, putting this enclosure together, because I had to clean this out and put it together, was pretty simple. However, I don't trust plastic like this because if you drop it, you could crack it, you could shatter it, you could break one of these plastic pieces, and they're not replaceable. So that means you have to duct tape it, which is very unsafe, or get a new enclosure so you can prevent escapees. I get a lot of enclosures that are rehomed to me with duct tape on them because the owner failed to get them a more secure enclosure because they just did not value the animal all that much and did not think that they would need to replace the enclosure because of course they rehomed their pet. Other than that, you cannot stick in too many hides inside of here. And I demonstrated before the way it opened. It opened like this. See? Backside as well. And this is a locking mechanism. Like I said before, plastic. I don't trust it. If this is all plastic, it's very easy to break. And what's worse about this type of enclosure is that plastic that breaks very easily is being thrown into our landfills. And companies that don't make alternatives that's more naturalistic like glass or wood or a mixture of metal, they are creating enclosures that are just not biodegradable. And I want to make that a very good point in these videos and upcoming videos, that when you buy what people consider to be a throwaway pet because they don't understand their needs, because they don't look up and research it on their own time, and misinformation is completely out there, and I feel very bad for people who are just simply misinformed, but they're considered to be throwaway pets, and they end up in stuff like this, which then gets used up and thrown away as soon as their pet dies, gets rehomed, etc. And even though some of these parts, which have clearly stated they've been recycled, at least this one says 6, so this has been, I guess, recycled 6 times, this type of plastic, how much more can you use this once it's been recycled? At least we do have confirmation for the OVO Habitrail that this plastic can be recycled. Now I'm gonna measure the pan depth before I measure the enclosure. It looks like at the highest place, it is 5 inches. However, it does have an incline. So I wanna say maybe the lowest place, if I take a look at it right here, is about 4 inches. So we got high 5, low 4. And then when it comes to measuring the width times length, this one's gonna be a little bit tricky because of the way it bends, but try your best to eyeball it. I would say 14 by 8. So 14 by 8 is only 112 square inches. So this is actually much smaller than some of the critter trails that I've seen. However, critter trails have the wheel inside of the main home and does not have any accessories pointing out, which also includes the water bottle. However, compared to a critter trail, this has more pan depth, but the material is kind of the same. The construction is kind of the same, but it has worse ventilation. So let me compare some suitable enclosures for you to look at when comparing to this. Now I understand this is supposed to be a connectable cage. However, do you see me having multiple cages of the OVO? No. The reason why is because the owner who had this enclosure got one enclosure, and like many new time owners, it's a one and done deal. They don't want to expand. And when being told to expand, you are spending what? $8, $12, $15 on attachments, where some of these attachments go nowhere, or they just go to a lookout, or you have to buy another enclosure, and even then you think you're providing more space when in fact you are not. It's better to have unbroken floor space, meaning that's all one big enclosure so that there's no issues when it comes to dividing up territory or just one hamster being in one area and having to walk miles to get to another one. It's just an open area that's a lot easier to access, to clean, to interact with your hamster, you get it, and is a bigger area to provide hides and toys. So these 2 enclosures I'm going to be sharing with you guys today would be great for dwarfs up to Syrian hamsters. These might seem a little big compared to this tiny little cage, but it's well worth it, guys, when it comes to making sure you're able to interact with your hamster. They're exhibiting relaxed body language, and you don't have a claustrophobic mess like this where you feel like you can't interact with your hamster, and the only way you can interact is by taking it out. If you're constantly taking your animal out and placing it back inside and then going and thinking to yourself, this seems kind of small, it most likely is. Even for bigger enclosures, we're not there yet when it comes to better care, because hamsters in the wild run 5 to 10 miles a night depending on the species, with Roboruskies being the fastest hamster. And mice do like vertical space, they like to climb, they love to burrow, but mice are very misunderstood because there's a lot of places around here that still go by the laboratory recommendation for how to keep mice, which is not very accurate. For one 10-gallon tank, they think you can fit 4 to 6 mice, and that's a 10-gallon tank. That's an no. So for me, one mouse should be in 360 square inches, which is a 20-gallon long tank. While I'm on the topic of talking about mice in here, the wheel here for mice, while people say 6.5 inches is minimum, I say more of the recommendation is like dwarf hamster species, where it should be around 8, maybe even 9 inches due to their tail. This right here is a DIY bin cage that has been DIY'd via the lid here with hardware cloth metal. This is 1/2 of an inch to prevent hamsters from escaping, as well as the grade of metal is the right strength so they don't chew out of it. This is suitable for Syrian hamsters at around 620 square inches. You can provide a large wheel inside of here, which is a 12-inch wheel. I have some hides in here, which of course I put the smallest hide in the back. I only got 2 hides in here, but you can really fill it up. But I just wanted to show you scale-wise what this looks like compared to the OVO Habitrail, the blue edition. It is very, very small. You could literally put this inside of here, which I do see some people do just because it provides their own hide area, but I would be very careful of putting something like this instead of something bigger, because you can add a variety of really cool looking hides and climbing toys. So I place it in here, and it fits perfectly inside of here. That's how small that is compared to something like this. This is found at Walmart. It could be found at Target during the Christmas season. And this was only about $26.99 before tax. So this is a really good deal compared to this right here. You get a water bottle, feeding dish, and a wheel with this one, you do have to at least buy separately the correct accessories for this bin here. And of course you would have to spend time making lids, unless for your area there is someone selling appropriate size bin cages with really nice looking lids. You got to be careful because some hardware cloth is actually very flimsy, so really you got to look for the strong and sturdy ones. Nothing that looks like fabric, okay? This has to look like you're trying to keep something in. But if you're one of those people who thinks a bin cage looks tacky, let me show you something else that's really neat. This right here is the Preview 528 cage that has been our go-to cage at the rescue here, just because it's very easy to assemble. It's got handles, it's lightweight, and the pan depth is 6 inches, which is the recommended depth for Syrian hamsters, and it can provide plenty of ventilation because of these wires. You can provide climbing toys inside of here. We got some ledges in here. You can add bigger hides, which I will show you Peachy in here. Peachy is one of our foster rescues. He came from the pregnant Syrian litter intake, but he was the only male. Hi there, Peachy. Look at this climber. Hi, sweetheart. Peachy is a very young Syrian hamster, so he is going to get much bigger than what you see right here. He is about 3.5 months old, but adult Syrian hamsters get very big, and males can get very long due to their little balls I'm trying to find. Peachy, you're so cute. We actually thought Peachy was a girl at first, but turns out Peachy is a boy, and thank goodness for that because I cannot deal with more pregnant hamsters at this time. We did have a few births at the rescue due to the recent intakes, but he is such a little angel. And he actually went to the vets because he had a gut infection. And now he's looking so much better. You see that even though his ears are pinned back, I just woke him up. But he is a very gentle boy, and we actually have one adoption application for him right now. So yay, congratulations, Peachy. You are a very good boy. And he's got some beautiful red eyes too. This enclosure is so big that this is considered to be a guinea pig hide, but I use it mainly for Syrian. So I'll give this back to Peachy because he would prefer to climb on it and to hide inside of it. But in comparison, oh, by the way, this actually opens up here. Isn't that so neat? We can go in from here or go in from the side. But taking a look at this enclosure versus the OVO up here, which do you think might be a more suitable, more relaxed area for them to roam in and to have some room? I don't think it's a good idea to create cages that are claustrophobic, they don't provide good ventilation, and they look like a freaking bubble. I want to provide the best life for these hamsters, and I can easily interact with them, easily see them, and they don't look like they're stuffed in a corner somewhere where they don't want to be interacted with. So if you liked today's video, hit like to show support, comment down below with anything you'd like to say, and subscribe if you're new here and would like to become a part of the Munchkin family. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you around in the next review video. Bye-bye!